RMJ Movie Reviews back again with an on-the-fly movie review of Spider-Man Homecoming. Well, Spider-Man Homecoming, as I have said 50,797 times, Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk are my favorite superheroes of all time. I've said this in my other reviews of Spider-Man movies that have come out over the years. My love of Spider-Man came from in the 80s when NBC used to air reruns of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends on the Saturday morning cartoon lineup, back when NBC used to show Saturday morning cartoons. And when I was in high school and middle school, I was a big fan of the 90s Spider-Man TV show, which I think that was on Fox at that air. Fox had some pretty good cartoons then. I pretty much I like all the films. The only film that I've come back to now where I'm kind of like meh, and that's The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I rewatched that like on TV like last year, and it's not good. It's not good. I just like the fact that Spider-Man is in it, and it's got the Spider-Man characters, but it is terrible. It's pretty terrible. I like the score in that movie, but aside from that, and Homecoming, I thought next to the very first Sam Raimi movie, I thought is the best, as far as I'm concerned, the most enjoyable Spider-Man cinematic movie. Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man film is not the best in terms of Spider-Man film, but it's the one I enjoy the most because it was the first one that came to the big screen. I still, regardless of the dated effects, I still enjoy that one the best. And then Homecoming, and then kind of the other ones kind of just fall behind it for me. Now on to this one, Far From Home. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Far From Home. Now, I've been seeing little things on the internet where they say Far From Home is the best Spider-Man movie. I do not agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. As a matter of fact, I will even admit that I did not enjoy this more than Homecoming. I enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming more than I did this film. That's not taking anything away from Far From Home. I still really liked it. I thought it was still fun. I think coming off of the two Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, which tried to kind of put the dark, gritty tone to Spider-Man, which I don't think works, because Spider-Man is a laid-back, silly character, a la Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. You know what I mean? I think that cartoon really nailed the humor of Spider-Man, and I think that kind of tone of Spider-Man is what they very much carried into the first Homecoming. And I think the other films kind of struggled with the humor of Spider-Man a little bit, really including the Sam Raimi movies. The Sam Raimi movies didn't really bring out the humor in Spider-Man. A little bit too much crying. And in the Andrew Garfield ones, they did bring up the humor, but they just... those films were just financially property driven, so although the creativity was there, I still don't think the balance was quite right. To me, I think the tone of Homecoming and Far From Home is what the Spider-Man movie should be. I think they should be lighthearted and pretty kiddie friendly, which I think Homecoming and Far From Home are. Now, in Homecoming, you did have that slight menace and darkness coming from Michael Keaton, which we all know Michael Keaton can bring that from, the first two Burton Batman movies. So Michael Keaton did bring that element of danger and a slight bit of darkness with his Vulture character, which I thought was very good. I think where Far From Home kind of misses the mark a little bit for me is, and I've heard other people say this, is that the humor sometimes is a little bit too much. And, okay, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I will say that everybody across the board has humor, and I think there's a point in the movie where the humor should have shifted a tad bit, and brought in a little bit more threat and danger, and they kind of didn't bring up the danger and the threat like they did in Homecoming with Michael Keaton's character. I'll give an example. Like that scene in the first in the Homecoming, when Michael Keaton basically calls out Peter Parker in the car. There's really good danger, really good tension, and that's a perfect twist that I never saw coming in that movie. Just fantastic, really fantastic. That tension and that little bit of danger is, for me as a viewer, completely missing from Homecoming, and I would have liked to have seen that here because I really don't feel any danger in here, and I would have liked to have felt a little bit of danger, just a little bit. It didn't have to, you didn't have to feel as dangerous as maybe like the Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I thought those movies, the villains in those movies did feel threatening, but I just would have liked to have felt it a little bit more. Also, to the story in this one, this time the story didn't really do it for me, but I will say I do like that within Homecoming and Far From Home, they kind of tried to draw back and make the stories a little bit more simpler, and that's fine, I would like a little bit if they draw a little bit away from Tony Stark a little bit. And I love Robert Downey Jr. I love the character of Iron Man. I mean, that reinvigorated Robert Downey Jr.'s career. Those of us who know old school Robert Downey Jr. from the 80s, we know he fell off, and Iron Man brought him back into the fold. So I love the character that rejuvenated Robert Downey Jr.'s career, but I'd kind of like them to let's pull Tony Stark out and let's let but what I like is we're going into this third movie and it appears that it's going to be time for Peter Parker to put on his big boy pants, and let's I wouldn't mind if in the beginning of going into this third movie, of course we got to talk about Tony Stark a little bit, but let's kind of weave this into a strictly Tom Holland effort, without sprinkling Robert Downey, because they had to, of course, sprinkle Robert Downey in there, because really, Robert Downey is the Marvel franchise. He created the entire thing, at least the Marvel studio-driven films. And also, I felt the film was a little bit too long. It was just too long. I think they could have taken off maybe about 10 minutes, in my personal opinion. But, I think really for me those are the negatives. It was too long, a little bit too much Tony Stark. I would have liked to see more an individual story, and the humor was a little bit too much, and it kind of made it not feel so threatening when it was time for the serious stuff as far as you can go with a Spider-Man movie. But overall, I still really liked it. I did enjoy the lightheartedness, the romance between Peter Parker and MJ. I thought it was very much what a high school romance would be like. You know what I mean? The awkwardness, the shyness. I really liked that. Also, I liked when his boy ends up hooking up with the other chick on the trip, and it's minor spoiler, by the end of the trip they break up, that's so high school. It brought a smile to my face because it just reminded me of how things used to be in the teenage days, But I do not think it was the best Spider-Man. I do not think it was better than Homecoming. I enjoyed Homecoming much more than I did this film, but still, it was fun. And I will say, the showings were so packed today that I got a ticket for a 3D showing. I never do 3D showings, guys, because I wear glasses, and it's just complete hell trying to put those things on my face. Look, I did the theater that I go to. I did reserve seating. Nobody wanted to roll with me today, so I made it a solo day. But anyway, the theater was so packed. When I got the seats, there was nobody in there, and then by the time I walked into the theater, there was two dudes on either side, and I was like, I just can't do it. So I waited around for a half hour to do the 3D showing, and I must say the 3D I thought was worth it. All the action scenes, and when they were going in Italy and the water, and just the depth, the depth in the frame, and it's particularly on the scenes where Spider-Man is like actually like floating through air with his Batman style. It looks so cool to see like the difference between his body. You really feel like you're flying with him. So you know, if anybody's got the cash to shell out, I definitely do recommend the 3D, seeing this in 3D, which I never agree to at all. Any other time I'd say no. I would never any other time. But that's my opinion of Spider-Man Far From Home. Fun flick. I do not think it's not in any way inferior. It's just you know, it's got a couple of flaws in my opinion. I still enjoyed the other one better, but again, competent, well done follow-up. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, hit the little bell, ring a ding 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 ding, and don't forget to leave comments down below about Spider-Man Far From Home. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'm gonna see you guys soon.